So it took us about a year to get us to 9 clients. And then over the summer from July onwards, we were adding between 3 and 5 clients a month. So you can see the kind of growth there. Hello and welcome back to the Confessions of a B2B Marketer podcast. My name is Tom Hunt, your host, and it's been about 5 months since we released the last episode. The podcast is back. And in this next 10 to 15 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you why we've taken the 5-month hiatus, what's been going on in the world of SaaS Marketer, in Fame, in bCast, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, revenue numbers, the income report, and then also what we're going to be focusing on with those businesses, but also with this podcast going forward. Okay, so I'll link to a pinned tweet in the show notes that shows the MRR of bCast and Fame since the first tweet, which was November the 18th of 2020. Now, in that tweet, we show bCast at $250 MRR and we show Fame at $14,000 MRR. And for those that are not familiar, you can go to bcast.fm. It's a podcast hosting software for businesses, and Fame is a B2B podcast agency, so a service company. And so you can follow through the tweets to understand where we were in terms of revenue for those businesses. The latest one was April the 13th, and bCast was at 589 MRR. Fame was at 29.8 MRR. Now, the update today is that bCast is about $2,200 MRR. So it's about 4x where we were 6 months ago. And Fame is a little bit higher. It's at about $59,000 MRR. So that's up 2x from where we were about 6 months ago. So really the answer to the first question, where has this podcast been, is that we haven't been recording because of the focus on the growth of those two companies, specifically Fame. It took us around a year to go from 0 clients to 9 clients. And for anyone's awareness, we like a full service B2B podcast agency. So if you are a B2B company and you want to start a podcast, we'll do everything apart from host it. And we charge per month for this. So it took us about a year to get us to 9 clients. And then over the summer from July onwards, we were adding between 3 and 5 clients a month. So you can see the kind of growth there. And so obviously I'm the founder, CEO of that company. When that kind of growth happens, either I can continue doing other stuff like the podcast and promotion, etc., and I can leave the fact that those clients would become successful to chance, or I could refocus my time and my resources into that company, hire the right people, build out the processes to ensure those clients are happy. And so that's really what I have been doing for the past 6 months, is focusing on the Fame system, hiring the right people to serve those clients, and also servicing clients myself. And that leaves, less time to do other stuff, for example, this podcast. But while we're on the topic of Fame, let's dig into a bit more. I know the audience here are marketers, specifically B2B marketers. So you're probably wondering what we did to go from 9 clients a year to 5 clients a month. And as with any answer to the question, how did you grow? There's never really one specific answer. We focus, our number one value in the business is client happiness. And as we know, the golden rule of marketing or growth, in my opinion, is that retention is the foundation of all growth. And so we have a significantly low churn rate. And so when we bring on a client, we know on average they're going to stay for X amount of months and spend X amount of cash. And so that's really the focus of the whole company, is client happiness. And therefore, if we get that right, we know we have relatively good unit economics. And so we can then go out and spend more money to get customers. Now, there's one paid channel that is working and has been working for a year. I'm probably not going to say it though, because it doesn't really make sense for me to share the paid channel that's working really, really well for us, because as soon as I say that, it could probably just get a bit more expensive and end up not working if anybody else in a similar business wants to do that. So I'm not going to mention that, but I would say that retention is the foundation of all growth. We are starting to rank for organic search for terms like podcast agency, which is a good sign. I haven't been able to track clients directly back to that, but I'm seeing impressions and clicks going up, so it's probably helping. We don't actively ask clients to refer, but we obviously have had word of mouth, or we've had clients that have started, say, a second podcast. So that's been helpful. So yeah, that's really like, there isn't a secret sauce. If you're in a B2B company and you're looking to grow, I would recommend first focusing on retention, focusing on how you can make the clients happy, reducing that churn rate. That will help drive word of mouth and referrals. And then once that's done, I would go to look at other channels, whether it's paid, whether it's content, SEO, etc. And then just take one channel at a time, spend months on it, get it to work before moving on to the next one. That would be my advice. In terms of other news at Fame, we've expanded the kind of full-time team probably from like 6 to 10 over this time period. The hiring's gone incredibly well. We had our first offsite in the UK and in the Philippines last week. It was amazing. So everything is good with Fame. But one other point I'll also make, this is probably specific for like B2B companies, is that getting, like when you're looking to bring on customers or bring on clients, is to really understand who is the client that you can really serve well, that it's really easy for you to get them good results. Because if you do that, your delivery, like your profit margin is probably going to increase because you know exactly how to serve this client. But then also your likelihood of success increases. And so this feeds back into the retention number. You're going to get much better results for your clients, and therefore they're going to reduce churn. You can spend more to acquire them. And so actually understanding that and then rejecting clients that you don't think are right. Now, obviously, this depends on your cash position or the aggressiveness of your revenue goals. But if you have cash in the bank and you're not like super concerned about hitting an aggressive revenue goal, I would recommend actually rejecting people that come to you because they're not the right size, they're not the right industry, it's not the right style of service that they're looking for. Because if you do that, everything, all the rest of your metrics will improve. So that is the update on Fame. And now obviously the other company is bCast. Now bCast is podcast hosting software for high growth businesses. It's a podcast host for essentially business podcasts. And so the way we build, I'm the product manager for bCast. And obviously I'm working with Fame clients every day. So I really understand what a business wants from their podcast. And so we feed that into the product development for bCast. Now, as I mentioned, we've 4x'd MRR in the past 6 or so months. And so the question is, how is that happening? Mainly through organic traffic. And I can kind of share this one. I'm happy to share this channel because it's very hard to recreate. And I'll just give you a taste of the kind of terms of the volume that we've managed to do with bCast Organic. So we've gone from roughly, if we say when we released the last episode of this show, we're probably hitting about 100 clicks a day from organic. And as of right now, we're averaging around 800. So we've 8x organic clicks to the site over the past 6 months. How have we done this? Just writing a lot of great content. So we have a content machine that we built. We have a couple of writers. We have someone managing the process, and we do keyword research, look at competitor content, and then try to make it a little bit better. We produce about 6 blog posts a month on this. And it's just, I'll try and link to a screenshot of the organic graph, but it's pretty awesome. All of the organic metrics are going up, referring domains, and also like impressions, clicks, and our Ahrefs domain ranking is also going up consistently. So we're going to double down on that. We also, there's some virality in the product. Every podcast is putting their content on our domain, so we get backlinks, etc. from that. So that's also helping. So the more customers we bring on, the more likely we are to get future customers. So this is the viral flywheel that works with specific SaaS products where you're taking content from your users and then putting that publicly on the internet. So that flywheel starts working once we get users, but to get users, we are doing the organic content. But those two flywheels are connected, right? Because when a user comes, they will put their content into bCast. That helps us with organic. That means we can get more people coming into the organic flywheel and then more people going into the virality flywheel. So that's kind of working on the acquisition side. In terms of the business focus, yeah, we heavily focused on creating a podcast host for business podcasts. And we know what business podcasts want because we have Fame. We spend all our time working with businesses to help start and grow their podcasts. So that's the focus of the product. So the theory is that we can serve that customer segment better. That customer segment is large enough for us to build a good business. And that's the theory with bCast. Okay, so I hope that gives you a bit of a flavor for what's going on with the business right now. Obviously, SaaS Marketer is like the content asset, the content brand. And that has actually been going pretty well without much kind of effort going into it. We haven't added a blog post onto the site, I think, for the 6 months, and haven't really been engaging that much in the group. But the great thing about Facebook groups and blogs, well, actually, specifically Facebook groups, is that they do grow over time. The energy or the value is being added by the users. Once you get that right, it's hard to get it set up, but once you get to a critical mass, that does start kind of working. And so the group's been growing like pretty steadily over this time, and the engagement has still maintained. And so these, like, the theory here is that we can build this content asset. It's easier to get attention with a brand that isn't related to a service or a product. And then we can build this self-sustaining community and then siphon off the attention from that community, like in a clear and ethical manner, to either sponsors or to the products or services that we own. And so right now we don't have any sponsors, but if you're happy to sponsor like a vibrant SaaS marketing community, get in touch. Tom at saasmarketer.io. Also, what I will say during this time is that the organic traffic on all three domains, so saasmarketer.io, fame.so, and bcast.fm, have all been slowly increasing. And this is what I kind of realized with online businesses, is the longer you stay in the game, the more love you will get from Google. And so even if you do need to take 6 months off from your like publishing schedule, it's probably okay, because when you come back, you ideally will have more referring domains, you'll ideally have greater domain authority, and ideally will have more organic traffic, because Google values domains that are older. And so despite the fact we haven't really published any content on the Fame or SaaS Marketer domain really for 6 months, we are now in a better place organically to go forward, just because the domains are older, we're more established, and Google likes us more. And so that's super interesting that I wasn't really aware of. And so if you're a content marketing manager, SaaS marketing person, then the longer you have a domain up and running, the better. And so if you need to take a break, rather than like giving up on a blog or on a project, then I would recommend doing that, because when you come back, you're probably going to be in a better place. So focus going forward. I'm kicking off the content machine. It's been running very well for bCast. I'm kicking that off for SaaS Marketer and Fame. So bCast content is going to be focused around business podcasts. Fame content is going to be focused again around B2B podcasts. SaaS Marketer content is obviously going to be focused around SaaS Marketer. This podcast is going to be focused on B2B marketing. And so myself and others are going to be starting creating content that is aimed at adding value, and like content that's unique, different, and is aimed at adding value at the specific persona, whether that's a B2B podcaster, a SaaS marketer, or a B2B marketer. So that's going to be coming out on those various domains going forward. And that is going to be the focus. Now that kind of the system, the growth is happening with bCast, the system is in a much better place at Fame. And I'm looking to grow the SaaS marketer community because I think it's adding value, and I think it can be profitable, let's say, for other sponsors and also for our businesses. That is what you can expect going forward from all the brands. From this podcast, I'm going to keep updating on what I'm learning about B2B marketing here, and probably like pepper in some entrepreneurship insights. So if we do have any entrepreneurs listening or founders listening, there should be some stuff as well that I would pepper into the show. And then as we progress and I learn/meet other people in the B2B marketing sphere, obviously I'll bring them on to understand what they're learning, how they've grown their service or SaaS companies, so that you can also do the same. Anyway, I hope this episode, slightly different, was of value to you if you are in the world of online entrepreneurship /B2B/podcast marketing. Any feedback, come at us with an Apple podcast review. I'll start reading them out again on the show. So just search for Confessions of a B2B Marketer on Google or an Apple podcast, and you'll find us. Leave a rating and review, and I'll get you shouted out on the next show. You have to ping me a screenshot of the review or message me on LinkedIn with the review, and I'll make sure you get shouted out on the next show. Apart from that, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to us. I want to thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.